With the absence of Levi, will McLaren be able to score big points here today in Singapore? We're underway under the lights. AJP's in first, but Evan gets a great start. He's already neck and neck with Pri as the drivers come down to the first corner. It's AJP who has the lead of the race. Pri's in second. There's an incident in the background, including Jack, Sizzling H, and LJ. Evan's up into P3. Dom's in P4. Active Buffalo is in P5 with Lunger in P6. Ollie in 7th. Tony JD in 8th. LJ in 9th. And JC's in P10. And here's a replay of the incident at the start of the race on board with Sizzling H's car. Sizzling H gets away well, gets ahead of his teammate Gerald Crisp, but gets tagged by him, and that's going to put him into a wall and into last place. So we come down now to sector 3. Pri is in second, just ahead of Evan. As the drivers complete lap 1, JC goes into the pit, so that's LJ going up into P8. JC with an early pit stop strategy. He might have wing damage, so LJ's up into P8 and Sizzling H is up into P9 and Jack is up into P10. The Alpine driver without his teammate today, so he's going to need to perform for Alpine. In the meantime, this is Evan trying to get the overtake on Pri, currently sits in P3. Active Buffalo is in P5. He's got Lugner just behind him in P6. Lugner's teammate Ollie behind him in P7. Active Buffalo having a good start to this race. This is one of the best positions he's found himself throughout the duration of Season 3. Tony JD is out of the race, and it's caused a virtual safety car here on lap 2, and Lugner is going to go into the pits for an early pit stop. Here we have Dom, currently in P2. Pri has the lead of the race. McLaren are 52 points behind Alpine going into this race. However, there is no Levi, and Jack is currently in the pits in P11 outside of the points. So Dom and AJP need to perform here today in Singapore to close the gap to Alpine. Active Buffalo is in P3. He's got Ollie behind him in P4. Both drivers are practically on their own. Active Buffalo having one of the best driving sessions he's had here in the LGN League this season, and he's ahead of Lugner's teammate Ollie. The Mercedes driver will want to try and find a way around the Ferrari driver, but at the moment has no luck, and Active Buffalo currently holds the position of P3. Ollie in P4. Oh, we have Jack and Gerald Crisp scrapping for P11. Gerald Crisp's going to go to the outside. Jack hugs the inside. Gerald Crisp swoops down the middle and gets the move on Jack up into P11. We haven't seen much of him this race, but he's got the overtake on Jack. Active Buffalo having to defend off Ollie here on lap 5. Ollie's gaining on the Ferrari driver. They almost make contact. They're very close. Active Buffalo does defend well though, as AJP gets the fastest lap. Ollie goes a bit wide, and now they're neck and neck. Which driver's going to come out on top? Will it be the Ferrari driver of Active Buffalo or the Mercedes driver of Ollie? They're very close. Ollie's up into P3. Can Active Buffalo get his position back? It's Ollie that gets the overtake on Active Buffalo, and that's going to see the Mercedes driver go up into P3. We have had a double retirement from Gerald Crisp and Active Buffalo, both out of the race. So there's a safety car that has been deployed here at the end of lap 5. Ollie's now going into the pits. The safety car has gone in here on lap 7. It's AJP who has the lead of the race here in Singapore. Pri's in second with Dom in third. Ollie's in P4. Sizzling H is up into P5 after his incident at the start of this race. But we're back underway. JC having to defend off Evan. He's in P7. Evan's in P8. The Red Bull driver trying to make a way around the Ferrari driver. LJ is in P6. He's just ahead of JC, but JC is catching the AlphaTauri driver, and he might make a move down the inside. Almost. And Evan is still putting pressure on JC. But JC is still gaining on LJ, and there's a real midfield battle going on between these three drivers. So we get the overboard view. You can see how much Evan is gaining on JC, but JC is doing well under the pressure on the hard compound of tyres, and he's staying ahead of Evan. Pre is going to go the inside of Dom and gets the move on the McLaren driver, but the McLaren driver is going to fight back, and Dom now puts himself into P2 ahead of the Aston Martin driver. The drivers now go through the tunnel. LJ's in P6, still ahead of JC. JC is still keeping Evan at bay. But for how much longer, as the Red Bull driver intensifies his attack on the Ferrari driver as they go onto the straight. Evan now, side by side, as we get the onboard with the Red Bull driver making the move on JC, and up into P7 he goes. Next up is LJ. LJ is now under pressure from Evan. He's going to try and defend his position. Will he be able to? As they come down towards the start of Sector 2, LJ still finds himself ahead of Evan, but it might not be for long as Evan tries to go around the outside. JC's also in the distance, catching as well as Lugner and Jack. Evan gets the move on LJ. Oh, and that's JC getting caught up and getting it horribly wrong. And the Ferrari driver, just like he did in Monza, retires from this race. JC is out of the Singapore Grand Prix. Oh, and that's Sizzling H getting very close to the back of Ollie, almost making contact with the Mercedes driver. Oh, and Sizzling H is going to make contact with Ollie, and he does! And they're coming out of the tunnel. The second time Sizzling H has made contact with Ollie. He's putting pressure on the Mercedes driver as race control enable DRS. Sizzling H up into P5. Will he be able to get ahead of Ollie with 5 laps to go? We'll find out very, very soon. He's on the medium compound of tyres. Ollie is on the soft compound of tyres. Sizzling H is going to pull to the inside of Ollie, and he's going to try and squeeze it through the inside, and he does! And Sizzling H is ahead, but can Ollie get his position back? Sizzling H stays ahead of Ollie, and it's a good overtake from Sizzling H. LJ and Lugner coming around the famous corner, where GRL Crisp made contact with Evan. It was 6 months ago. Those 6 months have passed us. We find ourselves with LJ just ahead of Lugner. Jack is in P9. The Alpine driver will score points today, but this is not good for the constructors' fight for Alpine. McLaren currently sit first and second, and Alpine currently sit in P9. Lugner just behind LJ, might be gaining on LJ, but hasn't got ahead of him as of yet. We are being treated with a stunning camera angle of the current battle for P7. LJ has P7, with Lugner behind him in P8, Jack behind him in P9. That's the distance between the 3 drivers, and you can see they're very close, within touching distance of one another. The AlphaTauri driver ahead of the Mercedes driver, ahead of the Alpine driver, as Jack goes quite deep there, and he's going to lose some time. Pre is gaining on the McLaren driver, on Dom. Down the straight we go. Pre's going to try and go around the outside. Dom has the inside line. Pre on the hard compound of tyres. Dom on the soft compound of tyres as Pre tucks it down. Dom's inside and gets the move up into P2. The Aston Martin driver is now ahead of the McLaren driver. Dom wants his position back. He's going to tuck it down the inside of Pre, and he does. And he gets back into second place, and he's ahead of Pre. Lugner having to defend off Jack. Jack in P8, Lugner in P7. Jack struggling to get past the Mercedes driver of Lugner here on lap 14. Dom has Pre behind him once more. It's vital he keeps the Aston Martin driver behind him. He needs as many points as he can possibly get for McLaren for the constructors' fight. There's only a lap to go, and he's just ahead of Pre. As they come down the straight, Pre is going to attack as much as he can, but there's still a distance between the 2 drivers. Dom will defend for the remainder of the lap. HAP has an 8-second lead on his teammate Dom. He does have a time penalty, however, it's not going to affect the race outcome as he comes round the final few corners. He got his first ever podium here 6 months ago. He's going to get his 3rd win of season 3 here in Singapore. AJP wins, and Dom is going to make it a 1-2 for McLaren. Pre comes home in third, with Evan in P4. Sizzling H is going to finish in fifth, with Lugner in sixth, Ollie in P7, and the Alpine driver of Jack in P8. AJP is your race winner here today in Singapore, and McLaren bounced back. After last week's disappointment, it's celebration time for the McLaren drivers who finished first and second, with the Aston Martin driver of Pre finishing in third. Before we look at the league standings, let's take a look at who got driver of the day for last week's race in Monza, Italy. A huge congratulations to Evan, with 37% of the 35 votes going to the Red Bull driver, claiming him as your driver of the day around Monza. Here are the Drivers' League standings after today's race in Singapore. Levi is in first on 329 points. Evan is in second, with Dom in third. AJP goes up into fourth, and JRL Crisp is down into fifth. Lugner is in sixth, Sizzling H in seventh, Ollie in eighth, Pre in P9, LJ in 10th, Harry Sanchez in 11th, Laser in 12th, Jack in 13th, Totally JD in 14th, JC is in 15th, with Active Buffalo in 16th, Sirius in 17th, Relic is in 18th, Agile in 19th, and Entire YOLO is in 20th. And here are the Constructors' League standings. Alpine are still in first on 374 points. McLaren find themselves in second behind Alpine by 12 points on 362 points. Red Bull are in third, Alfa Romeo are in fourth, Mercedes in fifth, Aston Martin go up into sixth, and Williams go down into seventh. AlphaTauri remain in eighth, Ferrari are in ninth, and Haas are in 10th. Thank you for watching today's video. We will see you around our next race in Japan.